Welcome to another episode of Aussies Taking Over the NBA. It is another of our mid-season player/team reviews, going through all the teams with Aussies in them. So far, we've done, what have we done? The Bucks, the Celtics,
Cavs, Philly, Jazz.
Philly and the Jazz. I think we've got just this one, which will be the Spurs today. So Patty Mills, and we've also got Dallas to do after this, so we'll knock both of those out. Of course, you can always find us on Aussies Taking Over the NBA on Facebook, on YouTube, on #The Collectives Podcast Network on SoundCloud. You can find us on Twitter and send us any sort of tweets or Facebook comments. We're live streaming occasionally on Facebook Live. Also, we're looking at trying to expand that a little bit. And yeah, we're going to bring you another game, like a wrap up of games, probably at the end of this week. So stay tuned for that, because there's about a week's worth of games we've still got to get through. But we're going to knock out the rest of these two half season sort of previews. And then I guess sort of towards the All-Star break, we'll revisit our over and under and do a little bit more sort of in-depth stuff on what is happening in general. But the Spurs, what's your thoughts, Andy, on the Spurs?
Oh, one of those years where, Kawhi Spurs, probably not the same. Obviously, the era has ended. Tony Parker's gone to the Hornets. Manu Ginobili.
Retired, yeah.
Ginobili.
Ginobili? Yeah, remember that?
Heard that one from the Aussies.
Yeah, that was when he was like unknown.
That was when he was 18 playing in the under 21s in the World Cup, and the Aussies beat them. Yeah, buddy. So Ginobili has been no longer there.
Yeah.
Tim Duncan obviously retiring a number of years ago.
Yeah, a couple of years ago.
And so Patty Mills is kind of the last stalwart of the Popovich era left.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Obviously some younger players coming through, and the big signing of DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah, the
trade. From the Raptors in the trade with a Kawhi Leonard who was injured, in inverted commas, last season, quote unquote, having a bit of a tanty. We call him old Princess Kawhi in this podcast. So yeah, look, they're doing well. They started the season a bit slow. I think they've come into their own. They seem to just become snipers. They snipe games where they just hit ridiculous numbers and put 130 on a team, and then the next game they'll put 85 up, and you're like, what happened?
Yeah.
I can't pinpoint what went wrong from one game to another. Can you? It's just nothing. It's just like they're either on or they're not.
Yeah, it's unusual. I'm not sure. Going from last year to this year, it's obvious in the way that they now have that extra player where they lacked last year with Kawhi, to take some of the burden off that all-day LaMarcus Aldridge that we saw last year. And that was, both itself great. Like, he had a career year, and then at the same time, you knew it just wasn't enough for the Spurs team. Like, he has a bit of a foil now in DeMar DeRozan. DeJounte Murray, of course, he got injured early in the season. Lonnie Walker got injured as well. But Bryn Forbes has stepped up and shot really well. I think they're still looking for, defensively, that one guy that's like Kawhi. Because, DeMar DeRozan could probably give you maybe 65-70% of Kawhi's offense.
Yeah,
but almost zero the defense.
It's the defense. He's the best two-way player in the league. Still is. Not playing backs-to-backs for Toronto yet, but I mean, he's still the best two-way player. Some of those ridiculous steals, like the no-look, just passing lane interceptions are crazy. And his length, he's so deceptively long. Very much like Rocco,
Robert Covington.
Yeah.
Is he still injured?
Yeah, he's still injured.
Yeah, what a bummer for him. And then you got, obviously, Pau Gasol still on that $16 million deal, taking up a roster spot. I think he was injured for a little bit, and I think we said at the start of the season, like, he needs to just quickly fade off the roster if they're going to do anything this season.
Look, he's one of those guys that if you sign him to a vet min, it'd be kind of nice to have around as that old vet guy who can bring the new centers through. I think Jakob Poeltl, some of the newer guys in the team. It'd be good to learn around off and get something going. Davis Bertans, I think these guys could actually learn a lot from him. But in terms of a serviceable center, it's just non-existent at the moment. But
I think that they've got a couple of bigs. Like obviously Davis Bertans is kind of the new wave style big.
yeah,
Very little
Stretches
post
the
game,
floor.
but
Yeah.
stretches the floor and can shoot the 3-ball. And he can sort of drive a little bit. I think Jakob Poeltl can't shoot at all. I'm not sure if he's even taken a 3, but that's not what he does. I think they sort of struggle to make these matchups around, these lineups with LaMarcus. You know what I mean? Like they're lacking that extra big, and at the same time, they're probably lacking that extra guard mid-range sort of guy. Obviously, DeJounte Murray going down early probably changed the way they were going to line up this season.
Yeah.
Rudy Gay's missed a little bit of time as well. He's obviously another one that's an important player if he's playing really well. But at the same time, he's going to miss games.
Yeah,
he's going to miss games.
Yeah, definitely. And Derek White has been another big omission. He's injured as well at the moment, isn't he?
So we should go through what the Spurs themselves are. They're 27-21 as we record this. They started not too bad. I think they were 5-2, 2-ish. They lost a few games. They're currently 17th out of 30 for points per game, and then opposition points per game, 12th of 30. So the defensive end has stayed quite solid.
Yeah.
It's just, you're right in that they seem to just struggle to run teams with the way they play. They don't play a free-flowing style. They kind of play like this very stop-start, herky-jerky, little bit of this, little bit of that. It's like a licorice all sorts offense.
Or sometimes they'll just smack it to LaMarcus in the post and say, hey, you just take over.
Or even DeRozan in the mid-range at the same time,
They seem to operate a lot better. Like, they'll only put up 12 to 13 3-point shots a game. They're just that post player. They'll really take care of you in the center of the court in transition and then slow it up, and somehow there'll just be a lane slipped open and Patty Mills will cut through, or, they just...
Bryn Forbes
kick it
out to Bryn Forbes.
Yeah, or DeMar DeRozan will dribble in and create a shot off nothing.
Bellinelli, of course, he's there as well. I'm not sure if he's having the greatest season this season. I thought he was probably a better fit for a team like Philly last year.
He's like his Houston fit. He's like a dribble drive out. He'd be a perfect fit at the Bucks, where all he does, he has no ball handling skills. His defense is probably lacking somewhat. He's pretty undersized in terms of guarding. Probably the 3 onwards. Probably guard the 1 and 2, but on the 3 onwards in this modern era that you're getting 6-7s at 3, he's not going to be able to guard. But he's just a sniper. Like, he'll put you in places that, and he's one of those JJ Redick style characters, just keeps running. Yeah. Just got to keep running and get open, because you know that someone's going to try and switch. In Houston are notorious for this, but they, if you just run around them all day, they'll switch and it'll break down somewhere. You essentially have to stick to this guy like glue. But he's not having a bad season. He's just not having the season potentially the fit that they would have liked. I think they did bring him into the team as that catch and shoot style player, which they had none of before he entered the team. But it just doesn't fit this kind of post-game team.
Like, you've got to be an all-round player in this Spurs outfit to really fit. And they run a lot of pick and roll as well. It's a more conventional, like an old-school conventional style offense. It gets the most out of DeRozan in the mid-range and then throwing it into LaMarcus at the post. Patty Mills, obviously we haven't spoken about Patty Mills yet, but we'll get to him. For guys like that, all they need to do is play defense and knock down shots. And in a Popovich system, I just think he wants them to do more than that. Like, you can't get by trying to do that in a Popovich offense. So offensively, they're 7th out of 30, 113.1 offensive rating. Then defensive, they're 17th of 30. So 100, like, that's, you would think they pride themselves on defense. I'm not sure, like, they don't have, like, the tool, like the weapons. Like, it's not that they can't play defense, it's just they don't really have the matchup weapons.
No.
LaMarcus Aldridge has dropped a few kilos, I think, as well, and he's having to move a lot more, but he's not an all-round in the post center defensively, like of a Gobert or someone like that to lock down the paint. That's where I think, teams can probably kind of run it up on them with their pace and stuff like that. So team-wise, 27 and 21. That's not too bad. Like, that's not the worst. They're 6th at the moment in the Western Conference, a chance for a playoff berth. Onto Patty Mills, Patty Cake's 10th year this season. It's also big. He is
He's almost having a career year. Like he's up there with some of his top years in terms of points. He's having a career year for blocks.
Yeah.
0.2.
Yeah, 0.2 a game. Yeah, crazy. So how many has he got this season? Blocks? Defensive stats here. So he's got 9 already, where he had 11 last year in 82 games. So if he's a chance to double his block totals, that's pretty good. But I think it's that mid-range, that DeRozan player, that is allowing him to sag off and play defense a little bit better. Because I think personally his defense has gotten a lot better this season.
Yes.
And he's just always been a smart defender. Like he's never had the defensive tools of a high-level guy with...
He's just not got the body for it. He's a very undersized guy for the modern NBA game.
But he's very smart. Like IQ-wise, he doesn't have to use his athletic tools. No. But what he does have, he uses quite smartly on ball. I'm not sure. I think still probably he's one of their better on-ball guards, and that's why he plays a lot of minutes still.
Yeah.
Coming off the bench, he's averaging...
9.3 per game? Yep.
Yeah, 9.3 points per game. So minutes-wise, about the same, yet coming off the bench.
Yep.
So last year he started 36 games. This year he hasn't started a single game. And that also speaks to his attitude of... I'll do anything for the team. Like that's the kind of guy he is. He's been a really good servant for that Spurs team. So he's shooting 42% for last year. That's a little bit up from last year, which was 41 from the field. From 3, he's a little bit up. He's shooting 39% this year. A few less looks, which I think he's getting better looks rather than to say, he's getting less looks.
Well,
I think he's getting better
again,
looks.
it's probably last year without Kawhi. He was kind of brought on to be that volume guy. Like he had to take more shots because they really didn't have a lot. Whereas this year you've got DeRozan, so you've got that inside game to take a lot of the volume of shooting away, and Patty can just run the lanes.
Yeah, and that's something that he was really good at. Like he's always been really good at cutting, moving without the ball, and I think they're utilizing that a little bit better this season. From mid-range, he's shooting 46%, which is a little bit down. He doesn't need to shoot those shots this season.
It's all outside shots. That's where he's getting most of his bang for buck for.
And then assists-wise, so he's a little bit up, 2.9 this season. I think his best season was 3.5, which is 2 years ago, obviously at the height of Kawhi, when Kawhi was really at his peak with the Spurs prior to winning those... after winning those championships. And then what else? We're looking at steals, about the same. Blocks, obviously, is up. A few less turnovers, which was good. But apart from that, in general, his offense fits the team that doesn't just dump it off into the post basically all season, which is what last year was.
Last year was just, we've got nothing. Here, LaMarcus.
Yeah, it was all based around that. The entire offense was basically built around LaMarcus Aldridge because really that's all they had without Kawhi. So, what else can we talk about?
Well, we could talk about ratings. He's up on assists this year. I think he's facilitating a little bit better. Getting some rebounding done, which is a bit strange for a 6-foot guard. But just must be patrolling the lanes, I think, on the defensive end a little bit better. Offensive rebounding still not bad, 0.3 a game, but that's not his known for. But his rebounding is definitely up this year. Yeah, 2.4 as opposed to 1.9. So he's having a career year for rebounding as well.
I think that's kind of the absence of Kawhi. Like, DeRozan's not really a rebounder. Defensively, if you look at some of the lineups they don't have that extra small forward really to rebound, and their power forward situation has been like a bit of a mess. Like no Gasol trying to get Jakob Poeltl center with LaMarcus, a little bit all over the place. Rudy Gay sometimes playing a little bit of small forward and power forward, bit of a kind of mixture there. I think, look, Greg Popovich has done a pretty amazing job with, like, you look at that team and you go, oh, well, I remember saying at the start of the season, it's going to be great to watch DeRozan play in this system. And at the start of the season, like, it was great. I was like, wow, this is great. Then about maybe 10, 15 games in, you started to just go, it's the same thing over and over and over again. Like, yeah, it was great at the start. It was really interesting, but now it's just like he shoots 10 to 15 mid-range shots and runs around a little bit and
gets a little bit exploited on the defensive end.
Yeah, but there's no, like, it's the evolution of that 3-point making you feel great about, oh, he's dumping threes, or people, like, teams are just hot from three.
No, he's kind of like that Jordan-esque player, just kind of pings around in the mid-paint. He's facilitating a lot better this season. Yeah. That's one thing I have seen is his assist totals have gone up way. He recorded his first triple-double this season, which has been a nice thing.
So I just mean like teams in general that shoot a lot of threes, like they're quick scorers, they're fast-paced scorers.
Yeah, this is still a shot clock team. This is a team that utilizes all its tools to get the best shot off. Yeah. Same as kind of Philly, except Philly's more of a transition team. I mean, Spurs took Philly to town this year. They were just crazy from everywhere pretty much, and LaMarcus was feasting. But then they go and chunk to Miami. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. But this is where, like, at the start of the season was great to watch DeMar DeRozan, and it was happening exactly the way you wanted to see it, or I wanted to see it happen. Watching him really play well in the mid-range, sort of like dish out assists and dimes everywhere. But then after about 15 games, I was left thinking, it's just kind of the same stuff, and it's not dynamic. It kind of makes you think, oh, that's why they're not like really running up cricket scores against these teams.
Yeah.
Because they're at the same time as it being great, it's kind of a bit of an anchor. Like the same last year where LaMarcus last year, like, wow, career year, incredible in the post, shot great numbers, but at the same time, you're just like, yeah, but you're never going to win with that guy trying that strategy. It's not going to work. That is to say that they're both bouncing off each other. So it's a little bit different from last year. But at the same time, I just feel like there's something missing there if they're not shooting threes. But then again, I guess it's the rest of the league has just gotten
It's just evolved. It's just like it's gone to this point where, Houston's jacking up.
They had 68 threes
the
other day. I think it was against the Lakers.
It's almost like, boring. Like, that's too boring.
Yeah, It's like
10
balance.
is not enough. 10 is too much post play. It needs to be that 15 to 20. I think Boston and Philly and even the Pelicans, they play a nice pace of play. There's some three ball, there's some quick transition, and then there's some banging down in the post. It's a bit nice. Even the Timberwolves play like that. Karl Anthony Towns play a bit of post, then we'll get it out for the three ball, and they play a little bit of mid range. But it's either Houston, which is just jacking up, and Milwaukee does that as well. I mean, I think the Bucks have got it right. You just center your team around a freak, and you will do well. Like a guy that can just see everyone and has an arm and hand envelops the ball, so you can't really steal it out of his hands. Like, his hand takes over the whole ball. So,
and if you match that up with Houston style, it's similar. Like, Harden really for a shooting guard is bulkier, he's stronger, and he is a freakish sized guard playing that. Whereas Giannis is a power forward or a freakish sized forward, and to be able to have a forward facilitate like that just changes the dynamic of the way you play. So I wonder, there's still a few teams that are playing conventional offense, like the Warriors is a team that have just so many weapons in general, like a balance of weapons.
Yeah. And then you have Clay today, who shoots pretty much 90% and just 44 points in 26 minutes. You're
10 of 11. He was 10 of 10, and then he bricked a pretty chalky 3, like heat check style. I don't know if you're heat checking at 10 out of 10, but 10 of 10. But Spurs have a similar style where you match these two up and you go, they don't have the weapons. Like, it's obvious they don't have those weapons. Shooting wise, I'm not sure. There aren't many teams now that are playing that conventional offense that have the weapons to really emulate a style like Golden State at that level. Like, most teams are trying to play the dynamic style, but you look at
I think Boston. I think there's a few teams that are trying to get there without playing like Golden State, trying to have that same level. Harden is completely gimmicky because it's just like everyone. We lost all of our two-way players. Everyone just clear out. We'll play Chubb 3-point magic, where Harden just jacks up threes and everyone clears the floor, and he plays one-on-one with a guard and usually drives past them or gets some silly foul and goes to the free throw line 20 times. Problem is if you don't have a guy on the floor like Clint Capella who is having a really good season, then it's all gimmicky because any other center that has a little bit of an elbow game is going to destroy the team.
Yeah, it just doesn't fit. Like,
it doesn't fit in the modern game. It fits when you have the pieces, but they're too injured. And Chris Paul Max deal was the worst signing in the history of basketball.
So to tie that back in, Houston Rockets obviously are taking the most threes. Most threes attempted, 44 per game. Spurs least, 24.3 a game. So that shows you that they're really trying to play conventional, yet at the same time trying to shoot threes. But if you look at percentage-wise, I think they're shooting the best, by far the best, 40%, 40.4%.
Because they're better looks. They're there to get a look. They're not there to just jack a shot up.
Exactly. So I guess it's a balance thing where you kind of, to play a high level of basketball, you don't just need the right style. You need the right players. You need an abundance of the right players. And I think, I'm not sure if they could ever get back to that real dream team.
No,
that they had
I just think that
7 years ago.
because they're not going to get the picks that they once did.
Well, I'm not sure even where that franchise is going now with like Greg Popovich maybe retires or he leaves and they've got a big legacy too with the way they play. They're a purist style team. So I'm not sure where they're heading.
Tom Thibodeau's looking for a job.
Oh, yuck. No thanks.
Mate,
when
they've got the Weekend's cousin on there, Lonnie Walker, anything's possible.
The Game of Thrones hair. I noticed Alfred Payton cut his hair. He was the one with that stupid thing over the front of his head.
That's stupid. Should we go to rating these guys?
Sure.
Let's start off with Paddy. I'm going to give him a B plus.
I'm just scrolling down to my notes here. What did I have him? I didn't grade him, so I'm going to grade him on the fly. I reckon he is a B plus for me. I think as a veteran, he has an important role on this team.
Yeah,
and his IQ and his ability to cut and play off the ball is fitting this team perfectly. And it just ties into the way Spurs play in that he can play 25 minutes a game off the bench and it doesn't bother him. At the same time, it tells you how important he is that Greg Popovich is playing him 26 minutes, even though he's not starting. I think Bryn Forbes is shooting their best 3-point percentage. I'll just double check that. 3-point percentage. Bertans is 48, but that's a small sample size. And then if you look at Patty Mills, he's 7th, 39%. But yeah, I just think he's had, an above average season for what he needs to give that team. He's an important part of their team, being that mobile off the bench guy. What do you reckon you'll be? What's your justification?
He's having a career year in many aspects. I think he brings something to the team. He brings, a potential game winner. We've seen him take game-winning shots
against the Warriors. Yep,
in the Warriors. So he's obviously Pop goes to him to step up when he needs it. So he's that go-to guy who can also pull off when it's needed. High 3-point percentage, high basketball IQ, good veteran. Has played in championships teams, knows what it takes to win, and can play in any system. Because he's not an ego. There's no ego in his game.
Yeah.
And so you can come off the bench and play every game for 26 minutes game and give Pop 10 points, 11 points at a high clip with some good dishes and some better rebounding this season, then, that's great.
Bryn Forbes.
I'm going to have to give Bryn Forbes a B plus as well. I think he's having a really good year. For a second-year player, scoring well, shooting well, probably needs to get his facilitation up just a little bit.
Yeah.
I think it's, they can run a few more pick and rolls on that for LaMarcus or potentially getting DeMar into good zones. But, DeMar does it off his own clip most of the time anyway. But, yeah, B plus for Bryn.
Yeah, what about Pau Gasol?
I'm going to give Pau a C minus.
C minus for me.
He's outlived his usefulness in the NBA. It's like, if it's 17 years you've been playing in the NBA. Like, it's time to, it's the Dirk Nowitzki effect. Like, he's been around the traps. He's not a one-club man. He's $16 million, which is far too much money.
Yeah.
Like, if someone picked him up on a 2-year vet deal, chuck him in for 5 minutes a game. Why not? But just not worth the money.
So if you look at 3 points attempted, Pau Gasol 8. So he's 4 of 8 in 3 points attempted in this team. And then if you look at their next worst or least amount, Pondexter, LaMarcus Aldridge is the other one. Then DeRozan is 8th. So he's third, sort of, in terms of volume, he's third last in 3-point percentage, 17.5%.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So obviously his 3-point went up last year, but this year,
I just think he's likely to, he's just old, man.
Pau Gasol,
he's just old.
I think you can't keep him on the floor. Like, I don't want to rag on the guy, and he's 38. I think he's 38. Is he 38?
Yeah, something like that.
38. Yeah, it's. I think it's time after this contract's up. So onto DeRozan.
DeMar DeRozan. Look, facilitation wise, you got to go to an A minus. The guy has lifted the team since he's come in. He's a lot of reasons why they are where they are as opposed to last season. in a heavier stacked West as well, might I add. The West is much heavier. So A-. He's an all-star in my books.
Yeah, well, I went B+. Same as Paddy. I think they're all... I'm going to put most of them B+ in the main group. I just think they don't have enough in general in terms of winning games.
They don't have the A+.
Yeah, there's
star.
no real A+ guy there.
LaMarcus is like an A-.
Yeah.
He's like, you want LaMarcus in your team. You just don't want him to facilitate every bit of offense.
And I think mobility-wise, if he just added the slight little extra bit of mobility, he'd be a much better defensive player and really give them an extra lift defensively because they've lost a lot with Kawhi. Rudy Gay.
Probably a B- for my mind.
Yeah, I think a B- is pretty good. He's had a little bit of an injury, but in the games he's done well in, he's actually given them a spark on offense.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what they've needed. It's substituting Kawhi for two guys, which is Gay and DeRozan, and it doesn't it's not having a full effect of replacing.
No, because they're not both two-way players. It's different if Rudy Gay was a lockdown defender and maybe his offense was lacking, but he's not. They're both kind of that offensive style player, and you need that lockdown defender, especially when you have undersized guards. Like compared to what is now the gold standard, would you say, of the point forward?
Yeah.
That's potentially why.
So who was up next? Davis Bertans.
I like Davis Bertans. I think he can stretch the floor really well. 6'10", so he's a good size. Shoots the ball well. Bit of weight to him. 2 years in, you got to give this guy a B.
Yeah, I think I had B. Did I? Yeah. So defensively, I just think he gets exploited a little bit. But
I just don't think he's quick enough on his feet yet.
Nah.
It might be something they can work on. He's like the Joker. Joker's not that quick on his feet, but he's smart. And I think he just needs to get a little bit smarter in how he deals with it.
Yeah. So Bellinelli?
Bellinelli is a C+ for me. I just don't think he fits the team the way... you need a catch-and-shoot player, but I think you want someone with a bit of two-way defense.
Yeah.
I just don't think he fits the two-way just with what they have in... the pieces in the puzzle.
You know who'd be interesting in that spot? Jimmy Butler.
Yeah. But the Jimmy Butler isn't a catch and shoot, but this team almost suits him because they're all ISO players. Like LaMarcus is ISO, DeMar's ISO, and so you just throw in a third ISO and you just have ISO ball.
Yeah, that would be interesting. 3-pronged ISO.
Yeah.
It'd be pretty horrible to watch, but it'd be interesting. Jakob Poeltl?
I don't mind a bit of Jakob Poeltl. Second year, look, I'm going to give the guy a C+.
C+.
Yeah, probably not. He's got very little elbow game, kind of an old bang down big, but as a bit of a backup for some minutes, useful enough.
So I'm going to go C- because he a lot has lain on his shoulders this season. It was important for him when Pau Gasol went down. It's important for him to be a rim protector and actually commit on defense and work, but it just hasn't really worked. He's kind of struggled, and he struggles to stay on the floor a little bit. He just doesn't really offer anything on offense at all. Finishing around the rim has been, a little bit average in general, and non-timely average. He's not someone who gets who shows up with plays to score buckets and make things happen for this team. So yeah, C- for me. Anyone else kind of just also rounds up?
Yeah, we can go through a few others. I think Derek White for a first year guard looks pretty good. Had a good couple of big shots. Yeah. When they played OKC, remember that Thriller?
Oh yeah.
Came up with a couple of good shots.
Yeah, he did too. Yeah.
So I like him. I think he's a good guard. 6'4", not undersized. Can play the one. Can play the two. Shoots the 3-ball. Facilitates quite well. Can offer a bit of rebound. First year, I think he's doing great.
First year, is it? Or second year?
First year.
Was he drafted this season?
I believe so.
Second year.
Second year, is it?
Yeah, the season before he was drafted. Okay. But yeah, he was good in that game. I think when you look at their shooting, it's really Bryn Forbes who stands out as their premier 3-point shooter. He was white hot for a while there. Derek White, what's his shooting from threes percentage is 35%. He probably raised that a little bit. Off the dribble, not too bad. So what did you have him as?
I'm going to go B-.
B-.
Yeah, for a second year guard.
C+. Quincy Pondexter.
C, just C. The rest of them are kind of C's. You just don't see enough of them.
Yeah, rest of them are C's. So to sum up, what's your thoughts?
You don't really know who in the league you need to add to make them a winning team.
Nah.
They're just kind of an eclectic mix of people that Pop has kind of molded into the team that can put 130 on one day and then just nothing the next day. In this modern age, they've probably got two players that crowd the paint a little bit too much, and DeRozan and Aldridge. I think it's the same problem with Simmons and Embiid, Simmons and Butler. These guys are paint players. It's really a 4-1. It's a 4-1. You need four perimeter, four guys that can stretch the floor, one guy who can facilitate the middle and pass out. That's where it's going. I don't know if that's going to stay like that for long. It seems to be going that way in even further. But you know what? It's we'll see come finals, I suppose, playoffs.
Yeah. I think they're just probably going to get bounced out in the first round again if they make the playoffs. That was kind of expected, really.
I thought they would have added a little bit more this year with obviously another player coming in with some scoring as opposed to last year, which, they didn't have that option.
Yeah, I think, like I said before, it was fun watching DeRozan at the start, but now it's just kind of like this is the same stuff over and over again. And it was just like last year where this is great watching LaMarcus beast in the post, and then you're just like, but it's the same stuff over and over again. Like, I don't think this is sustainable. But yeah, I can see him getting to the final, getting to the playoffs and maybe being bounced out in the first round or fluking it and getting in the second round.
Yeah, maybe second round for me. I think they can probably put 4 good games together.
But we, of course, will go through that in a little bit more in depth in our pre-All-Star break half-season over-under review.
We'll just go over-under review.
Yeah.
That's what we'll
got there in the end.
That's what we'll call it. All right, guys, we'll wrap it up.
And then, we've got the Dallas one coming up. So, like, share and subscribe. Find us on Facebook, YouTube, on SoundCloud, iTunes. Give us a rating and review if you're out there listening right now on iTunes. Give us a rating and review. That'd be great. And like, share, and subscribe. And let us know what you think. Feedback's great. We'll see you next time on the next episode.
All right, peeps. Peace out.